What up, YouTube? This is Daniel Rucker with Truth Table After Hours Edition. It's another late night. I'm up. I have thoughts, have things on my mind, so we're gonna get into it. But before I get started, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. I do it for you guys, and what I want to continue to do is bring this content, bring a perspective, and hopefully it creates conversations, provokes thoughts, and gets people to start talking, consider other things, things to consider. So what led me to want to do it after hours today? Well, there's always things. I'm the type of individual, people, that I'm always thinking, and I'm always thinking about things that, in my opinion, matter. One of the things going on right now in the space is the whole fresh and fit debacle versus Apple and Preach, and I did a reaction video particularly to that subject on my YouTube channel, a regular channel, so go ahead and check that out when you get a chance. The after hours that I'm doing right now is more about what's continuing to swirl in the space, and I was actually looking over Latif's talk show that he did last night, mind you, and one of the main topics was this. What I found that I would say annoyed me as an individual was that people seem to constantly automatically attach moral character to people who are semi-famous, whether they're famous or semi-famous. And in this case, Fresh and Fit are semi-famous. They are relatively large on YouTube as far as where their platform came from and where it's going or where it was going. And now they have the attention of content creators. They have a steady following, so on and so forth. My issue and why I wanted to talk about this is that, and I've mentioned this before on my channel and other particular broadcasts, that I don't understand why people seem to connect and correlate that if a person is famous or a person has a platform or a person has the attention of the public, that they now have this automatic responsibility to be a better person. I personally don't agree with that. One of the things that I've grown to understand about people in my many travels, thus far I've been to about 18 countries, and I have several that I still want to go to before I pass on the glory. But one of the things that I gathered by traveling abroad, being to most of the states in the United States, and then having friends from all different walks of life, having interactions with people from all different religious backgrounds, sexual orientation, age, different things. What has helped me to understand is that a lot of times, especially if you're talking about younger people, there is what I would consider to be a mental block and a mental blindness to most people's attention span. What am I saying? What I'm saying is that the entertainment component is a strong one. Entertainment is a machine, which is the very reason why Hollywood is so prominent when it comes to things. Netflix could not be Netflix without it having an entertainment component. NBC, CNBC, ABC, all of these major networks, no matter what you name, they all have an entertainment component. And what was one of the correlations, specifically with the Latif's talk broadcast last night with the panel and the callers that were calling in, is Latif kept on asking, well, why, as you as an individual watching content, why did you continue to, for the most part, subject yourself to these particular gentlemen, and come to find out they're not legitimate in what they're saying and what they're spewing? And most of the people would admit, well, it was entertaining. So I was not in a position to actually call in on the show tonight, and hopefully my schedule allows me to do so on Thursday. We'll see what the topic is about on Thursday. But one of the things that was, I was sitting back like, okay, I want someone to call in and say this. And maybe they did, and maybe I don't believe they did, because I stayed on the majority of the broadcast and I didn't hear it. But one of the things that I got was, why is it that people think that people who exemplify success now automatically graduate to being a good person? I briefly touched on this, like I said, on my broadcast, yesterday, reacting. But it's one of those things that, when you look at our society, when you look at how people gravitate towards certain people, there's a relatability component. There is a commonality component. There is a racial loyalty component. There is a familiarity component. There is a lot of these things that allow people to become fans of certain content creators, certain athletes, certain actors, and so on and so forth. Each individual doesn't necessarily touch each bracket of people or each facet of people. That's a better word. And why can I say this? Because it's one of those things where there's so many people that try to make it appear that they want to see quality. They want to see morality. They want to see people who exemplify character. But at the same time, those very people who do actually exist in the world and exemplify those things are not the most popular people. And this is, again, the problem is because that is a true statement. It's a slow burn for those people who are doing the right thing. It's a slow burn for those people who are standing for something. Those people don't usually get the same level of clout or attention or real notoriety per se from the masses. And see, that's what I guess was plaguing me, because myself, I would consider myself to be a relatively decent individual. And what I mean by decent is that my intent in any point in my life is never to cause harm, bring any type of malicious intent towards anyone. I don't wish bad on people. I do my best to govern my life and align it with God-like behavior, Christ-like behavior, being raised in a spiritually based home. I do know what's right, what's wrong. I have a moral compass. I follow my life in a regiment of things that put me in a position to, one, have parameters, have standards, have disciplines. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I'm not someone who uses profanity. There's a ton of things that me as an individual, and this is me just, again, trying to get you guys to understand how I formulate my thoughts. I don't meet a lot of people who live life in a way that is above reproach. I don't meet a lot of people who live life from a place of honesty. I don't not only personally interact, but just observing people, just in general, just watching people. I'm always out in the world, the grocery store, the movies, shopping centers, you name it. Even in the world of the business, most of the time when you go to different seminars and so on and so forth, they're not always the most integral. I mean, there's corporations that have gone, been countless, class actions because of ill practice when it comes to how they went about, distributing their product or their marketing campaigns. I believe not too long ago, Gucci had a, situation when it came to our community. Gucci ain't losing no money. It's Tommy Hilfiger in the 90s, when he went on Oprah and said that he would never would have made clothes if black people would have wore them the way they wore them. There's constantly things that occur. What was it? Paula Deen using the N-word. I'm throwing out random facts, but my point is that I'm trying to myself grasp what people are trying to convey, because on one hand you got people on the panel, like in a sense with the people that's talk, and they're trying to say that these particular gentlemen, Fresh and Fit, which I'm not in no way defending them. That's not why I'm doing this after hours. What I'm doing this after hours for is to ask questions and then get you to, ask yourself questions and even ask your social circle questions. What is positive behavior? And I'm not trying to be, condescending or how do I say, sarcastic or anything of that nature. I really am trying to understand what would be the humanistic standard for good behavior, because we don't obviously know these people personally. When they're a public figure, there's only so many people who will know you and truly know you, like know you day to day, know you off camera, know you behind the scenes, right? But what I find interesting is that as the masses, most people seem to attach to what's a popular topic. Most people seem to like to be a part of something that's large, regardless of what it necessarily exemplifies or stands for. And there's so many examples that I can utilize. You know, if you talk about music, for example, there is main pop culture, there is radio play music, and then there's music that most people don't listen to, or most people would never hear because it doesn't come across the radio, underground maybe, or it's more of a locally sourced. They don't have, you know, a musical contract or something, but that doesn't mean that their particular art form is not as equivalent in quality, if not better, than someone mainstream. And that's kind of where my point comes from. So I pulled up just a couple of points that I'm trying to drive, and hopefully this makes sense. Nothing crazy, no extensive research, but what I did is I jumped on Instagram and I wanted to compare and contrast a couple of public figures, those who I would consider to be more on the positive side, morally driven, people who exemplify character, people who exemplify standard, people who exemplify excellence, and then a couple of people who not so much would exemplify those things, but just to compare and contrast. So I jumped on Instagram, and as you guys know, if you don't have a social media presence nowadays, it's like you don't exist. So anyway, everyone knows who Barack Obama is. He was our president for about 8 years. And on Instagram, Barack Obama currently has 35 million followers. Now, by no means of the imagination is this a low number. 35 million subscribers, 35 million followers is a lot of followers, you know. But if you compare Barack Obama to Justin Bieber has 191 million followers. Now, some may say, oh, well, they're two completely different people. Justin Bieber's an entertainer. President, Barack Obama is, used to be our president. Well, if I was to look at what's more important, I would definitely lean towards the leader of our free world being of a prominent position, because his position was necessary. His position required, a certain level of skill, diplomacy, management skills, so on, right? He had to qualify for that position. And then you have Justin Bieber, who by no means is a trash artist. He has his own level of skill and his own talent. But when you stack them up against each other, talent, in this case, in this scenario, seems to pay more than competence, right? So then another figure I pulled up was Jordan Peterson. Most people know who Jordan Peterson is. Jordan Peterson is a highly intellectual professor out of Canada, who is probably one of the most brilliant men to date, one of them, right? And Jordan Peterson not only puts out great information, he's a family man. He, has taught people for more than 2 decades. And the content he puts out, the information he puts out, is life-changing information, right? He is concerned about humanity. He is concerned about people really truly getting to the best version of themselves. And that's what he lives his life by, right? Jordan Peterson has 2.3 million followers on Instagram. Okay. Then you have Kim Kardashian. Everybody knows who Kim Kardashian is. Now, again, some may say, well, how can you compare Jordan Peterson to Kim Kardashian? They're two completely different industries, two completely different worlds, two completely different genders, so on and so forth. I get it. But I'm really just trying to drive the point. And Kim Kardashian has 247 million followers just on Instagram alone. To me, the problem is not so much the people who decide to put themselves in a position to be on record or be on tape, or just not too long ago we had the baby who made comments about homosexual practices in a parking lot, and the man literally was put on a cross to be crucified because he made a statement that may have not been collectively true, or it wasn't sensitive to those people. Yet we have so many individuals over the course of time. Our past president said Mexicans were rapists and killers and murderers and all that stuff, and he held office for 4 years, with little to no response or ramification for his words and his verbiage. My point is what kind of society are we living in right now, people? What kind of society are we living in to where we try to act like entertainers or people who are in a space of entertainment now has to be held to the same moral code? And specifically, Miss Courtney, that's on the La People Let's Talk show, always speaks on code. Now, I know what she means. I know what she's referring to, or at least trying to imply. But when is people as a collective, going to take responsibility for what they attach themselves to, what they will support in a sense? Like I said, most of the people that came on our live stream tonight were easily to admit that they subscribe to that channel, Fresh and Fit, for the entertainment purpose, for the purpose that was entertainment, whether that was a laugh, whether that was, hype, whatever it is, whatever the point is. And then if you look at the growth of, someone like Kevin Samuels, for example, where Kevin by no means has a small platform, but Kevin Samuels' whole YouTube channel was particularly focused on style, excellence, representation, support of Black men, support of Black women, substance. It had substance. It took Kevin Samuels 4 years, which that's, whichever. That man, he's done what he needed to do. But it took him 4 years to start to see the growth that he's been able to acquire over the last year, where it took Fresh and Fit not even 8 months, 9 months to crack 250,000 subscribers on their way to almost 500,000 subscribers. I don't think that it's the problem with the content creators. I think it's the problem with people who don't understand that you should be looking to attach to more things that are substance-based, more things that are quality-based. But see, how is that possible when most people don't really know, in my opinion, what the difference is? The reason why places like McDonald's, Taco Bell, Del Taco, and all of these crappy food chains can exist is because of the fact that it's convenient. It gives people what they want when they want it without thought. They don't have to be, inconvenienced by getting out their vehicle per se. They can drive up to a window, say what they gotta say, drive up, grab their stuff, be out of there in 2, 3 to 5 minutes, and be eating junk on the way to wherever they're going. Compared to somewhere that's like a restaurant, I like Urban Place. It's a great place to eat. And it's quality, but it's more expensive. It takes more time. You're gonna have to dedicate the energy for you to consume that quality of food. But what it does for your overall vitality is better than a McDonald's. And that's where this particular broadcast is about, is that on one hand, I understand that us as people and us as even content creators are going to look at other content creators and be like, look, you have a responsibility to be, a good person. But I don't believe that being a good person has anything to do with someone's particular talent, someone's particular skill set. I think people are so quick to attach what they assume these people who are in this space should be doing. It's like, well, you have a YouTube channel, you have a following, so you need to, be mindful of what you share. You have a responsibility. I don't think they have a responsibility. I don't think that they're responsible for anything other than keeping the words that come out their mouth fact-based. Fact-based means that it's informative, means that you should be able to source it, means that you should be able to find it and, compare and contrast based on what they're saying and be able to source the validity of what they say. That has nothing to do with morality. That has nothing to do with character. That has nothing to do with a person's moral fiber. Now, you would hope that most people stand on what they talk about. But let's be clear, we live in a society that a lot of people do not stand on what they necessarily say. There are relationship gurus, coaches, there are matchmakers that are single. Matchmakers. Now, the assumption would be, if you're a matchmaker and you're the expert, wouldn't you be able to find someone to be with you? That would be the assumption. But that's not the case. And those people are not experiencing a lack of clientele. There's so many industries that allow for success, growth, so on. And people are not so much concerned about the depth of the substance. Most people want, like the McDonald's reference, they want the ability to grab what they want. They want the ability to get it and go. And that's no different with information. Someone like Kevin Samuels, for example, Kevin Samuels doesn't even get on the camera for the first 15 to 20 minutes once his show actually goes live. So that means that you have to sit there as an individual. Don't have to sit there, but if you want to experience him in real time, you have to be patient, right? And I respect that. I respect that for a lot of reasons. One, it showcases a person's ability to be patient. And it weeds out the people who just want to get on there and just, zone out and be entertained. Compared to a Fresh and Fit, where, yes, their broadcasts are long, but the moment you jump on, they're hitting you with the lights and they're hitting you with the music and they're hitting you with the girls. And, I'm talking about more of their after-hour show, because they have two shows. They do one in the morning and one at night. But their after-hour show, I believe, is the one that drives all of the numbers. They've even admitted this, that the stuff that they talk about during the day, credit, finance, real estate and all that, doesn't get nearly the amount of clicks, nearly the amount of attention as their nighttime after-hour show. Now, if the content creators that are being held liable right now can go on record and admit the very content that they give substance during the day, quality during the day, and then they deliver you entertainment at night, and the people are responding to the nighttime content. Well, is it really the people's fault? Is it the content creators' fault? I don't think it's the content creators' fault. What I hold Fresh and Fit accountable for is them not putting themselves in a position to potentially be guided along this journey. Once they started to see an uptick in growth, I believe they should have potentially reached out to those who are already in a position or experience what they were experiencing to best safeguard themselves from possible downfall, liability, so on and so forth. That's just my opinion. I believe that would have been a smart move on their end. But like they admitted, they were not looking at the full scope of things because they kind of got caught up with the hype. They popping, they're the best, podcast in the world, as they claim, the best podcast in Miami, and whichever. But my main issue is that, I'm not gonna give them too much free advertisement. They're getting enough of that. I'm just concerned that we still have people who are operating in this space to think that individuals that are famous are supposed to be good people. I live by a certain set of rules. One of my rules is that I grew to understand, after dealing with people in all different shapes and sizes and all different walks of life and different backgrounds and whatnot, that people are always going to be people. What does that mean? That means that people are going to lie, they're going to cheat, they're going to steal, they're going to overconsume, they're going to be selfish, they're going to be inconsiderate, and they're going to do what human beings have been permitted to do since the beginning of time, at the fullness of range. Now, what you would hope is that people as a whole would not abuse some of these things. What we want to see is people not abuse, obviously, their positions or their attention or anything like that. That's what we would hope. But let's be clear, ladies and gentlemen, we live in a society that a person like Cardi B can be interviewed by he's the current president now, but at the time he was the future president. I'm just concerned that we need to continue, in my opinion, for those of us who are more on the conscientious side, more on the side that, because I'm in support of what, people on the panel were saying, that they were not exemplifying what they were, quote unquote, teaching. But taking that stance means that you have to teach people to identify that, you should be mindful of the people you allow to speak to your life. And you should learn, the reference they were using was, eat the meat and spit out the bones. But it's deeper than that. It's deeper than just the food reference or the consumption reference. It's understanding that you as a person have to always be measuring and look at what it is that you are attached to. Why do you subscribe to certain people? Do you subscribe solely because you like them? Do you subscribe because it's beneficial? Do you subscribe because it is entertaining? Do you subscribe for all those collective components, for all those multiple points? Because then I would believe that we wouldn't be in a position that we're in. People have showcased that they're capable of anything. Bill Cosby just got let out of jail, like a month ago, because he was at one time putting some funny stuff in women's drinks. Bill Cosby, my particular expectation for most people, especially people who have access to, tons of money, recreational drugs, they have access. Most of the time they're gonna dabble in, how would I put it? Unscrupulous behavior. And we as people need to stop holding them to this measure that they're supposed to be so much better. No, if these people don't take an office of being like a preacher, a nun, a teacher, and things of that nature, then I think that we need to understand that they are living the same life that we're living from the standpoint of being people, being human. Most individuals don't live their life from a place of excellence and integrity. And I'm not saying that I agree with that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I believe you should. I believe all people should be striving to align their lives with excellence, to align their lives with things that exemplify quality. But for the most part, that is not what exists in the world today. And content creators and people who are famous and people who, have a certain level of celebrity did not get there because they were just so happened to be the nicest, most morally driven individual. They gave you as fans, they gave you as a public something that you either felt, you were inspired by, you were entertained by, you gravitated towards. And you as a person have to take responsibility for that each one person, and then one person created 10 fans or 20 fans because they obviously shared what they liked with other people. That's how it works. Each person has to take responsibility for understanding that we make these people famous. We make, as a society, we give them the pass to grow. We give them room to be the figures that they are. And so it always is going to start with us. People need to start being more concerned with substance and not trash. So that's all I'm going to touch on today. I think we're at the 30-minute mark or so. My nighttime shows, I'm still dibbling and dabbling and see how I'm going to format it. But I just wanted to get on here and flow, share my perspective on that. Thank you guys for those who, reviewed the content and hung out with me for a half an hour. I appreciate it. And I'll be coming with my live stream actually in a few hours. So stand by for that. Y'all going to want to tune in. There's going to be some good stuff. All right. This is Daniel Rucker with True Table After Hours Edition. Signing out.